Park Tae-ho stood by the window of his small room on Harmony 7 Station. Outside, he could see the stars stretching into forever. 3 months. He had been here for 3 months, trying to make peace between humans and the Keth Empire. So far, he had failed. The Keth were not easy to understand. They were tall beings with hard shells covering their bodies, like insects, but much larger than any insect on Earth. They had 4 arms and 2 legs, and their eyes were large and dark. They did not smile, they did not laugh. They thought humans were too emotional, too wild, too dangerous. Tae-ho sighed and turned away from the window. Today was another day of talks. Another day of sitting across from Keth nobles who looked at him like he was a strange animal. He put on his diplomatic uniform, a simple gray suit with the human coalition symbol on the chest, and left his room. Kim Yuna was waiting for him in the hallway. She was his colleague, a cultural liaison officer who helped translate not just words but meanings between species. "You look tired," she said. "I am tired," Tae-ho admitted. "Every day we talk and every day we get nowhere. They don't trust us." "Can you blame them?" Yuna asked as they walked toward the diplomatic hall. 10 years ago, we almost went to war with them over a misunderstanding. They think we act without thinking." "We do think," Tae-ho said. "We just also feel. That's what scares them." They reached the Great Hall. It was a massive room with high ceilings and walls made of something that looked like polished stone. Hundreds of beings filled the space, human diplomats in gray suits. Keth nobles in their ceremonial armor that made their shells shine like metal. Security officers from both sides watched each other carefully. Tae-ho took his seat at the human table. Across from him, the Keth delegation was arriving. First came the advisors and generals, all of them tall and serious. Then came the royal guards, even taller and covered in real metal armor. And then came Queen Vesa. She was magnificent. Her shell was deep purple, almost black, and decorated with golden patterns that showed her royal status. She moved slowly with perfect grace, and when she entered the room, everyone fell silent. She was the ruler of 1,000 worlds. She was over 300 years old. She was power itself. But today she was not alone. Walking beside her was a small figure, a child. Tae-ho had never seen a Keth child before. This one was tiny compared to the adults, barely reaching Tae-ho's waist. His shell was light blue, soft-looking, not yet hardened into adult armor. His eyes were enormous, taking in everything around him with curiosity. "The prince," Yuna whispered. "Prince Ren. He's only 6 cycles old. That's like 5 years for us." "Why is he here?" Tae-ho whispered back. "I don't know. Royal children never attend summits." The queen took her seat, and the child sat beside her on a smaller chair. The talks began again. The same arguments, the same disagreements. The Keth wanted humans to limit their expansion into certain star systems. Humans wanted trade rights in Keth space. Nobody was willing to give anything. After 2 hours, the queen raised one of her hands. "We will take a rest," she announced. Her voice was deep and carried across the entire hall without effort. Everyone stood. Small groups formed as diplomats talked quietly with each other. Tae-ho walked to a side table to get some water. His throat was dry from talking. He was pouring his drink when he felt something touch his leg. He looked down. Prince Ren was there. The child had crossed the entire hall, walking past dozens of Keth nobles and human diplomats, past security guards and royal advisors. He had walked straight to Tae-ho and wrapped his small arms around Tae-ho's leg. Tae-ho froze. He did not know what to do. Was this an attack? An accident? A game? The child looked up at him. Those large, dark eyes stared into Tae-ho's face with an intensity that made his heart beat faster. The child clicked softly, a sound that Tae-ho's translator could not interpret. Tae-ho said. Hello? The hall had gone silent. Teho looked up and saw that everyone was staring at them. Keth nobles had stopped talking. Human diplomats were frozen in place. Security officers had their hands on their weapons. Queen Vessa rose from her seat. She walked across the hall toward Teho. Her steps were slow and measured. Her face showed nothing. Behind her, High Advisor Mora and General Tarek followed, their expressions hard to read. Teho wanted to step back, but the child was still holding his leg. He could not move without pushing the prince away, and something told him that would be very bad. The queen stopped in front of him. She was almost 2 meters tall, and she looked down at Teho with her ancient, knowing eyes. Then she looked at her son, still clinging to the human's leg. She spoke. Her voice filled the hall, and every being heard her words clearly. My child has selected you as father. Teho's translator repeated the words in his ear, but they made no sense. Father? He was not a father. He had never been a father, and certainly not to an alien child he had met 30 seconds ago. I'm sorry, he said, his voice shaking slightly. I don't understand. You will, the queen said. Around him, Teho saw the reactions of those watching. The human diplomats looked confused and worried. The Keth nobles looked shocked, angry, or both. General Tarek's hand had tightened into a fist. High Advisor Mora was staring at Teho like he was a disease. But Prince Ren just held on tighter. The child pressed his face against Teho's leg, making small clicking sounds that somehow felt like happiness. Kim Yuna pushed through the crowd and reached Teho's side. Her face was pale. Teho, she whispered, do you know what this means? No. Among the Keth, when a royal child selects a father-guardian, it's sacred law. It's never been refused. In 10,000 years, it's never been wrong. She swallowed hard. And it's never happened with someone who wasn't Keth. Teho looked down at the child. He looked at the queen. He looked at the hundreds of beings staring at him, waiting to see what he would do. He had come to this station to build a bridge between humans and Keth. He had wanted to make history. He had not expected it to happen like this. What do I do? He asked Yuna quietly. She shook her head. I don't know, but I think your life just changed forever. Prince Ren looked up at Teho again. In those large, innocent eyes, Teho saw something that surprised him. He saw hope. He saw trust. He saw a child who had looked at everyone in this hall full of powerful beings and chosen him. Why? Teho did not know. But as he stood there with the weight of 2 civilizations watching him and a small alien child holding on to him like he was the only safe thing in the universe, he knew one thing for certain. He could not walk away from this. Whatever came next, he would face it. The summit was suspended. Guards escorted Teho to a private chamber deep inside the station. It was a simple room with gray walls and a single table. Kim Yuna was allowed to join him. Everyone else was kept outside. Teho sat down heavily in a chair. His hands were shaking. Yuna, what just happened? Yuna sat across from him. She looked almost as shaken as he felt. I need to explain something about the Keth, something most humans don't know. Please. Keth children are different from human children. They have an ability, an instinct. They can sense things about the beings around them. She paused, choosing her words carefully. They can sense truth, honesty, moral character. They can look at someone and know what kind of person they really are inside. That's not possible, Teho said. For humans, no. For Keth children, yes. And for royal children, this ability is even stronger. Yuna leaned forward. When a royal child selects a father-guardian, they are choosing someone to help raise them, to teach them, to protect them. It's one of the most important decisions in Keth culture, and it's always made by the child, not the parents. Teho thought about this. So Prince Ren looked at me and decided I should be his father? Father guardian. It's not exactly the same as a human father, it's more like a teacher, protector, and moral guide combined. The father guardian helps shape who the child becomes. But why me? I'm human. I'm nobody important. I'm just a diplomat who hasn't even been able to make a simple trade agreement. Yuna shook her head. I don't know why. But here's the thing, Teho. In 10,000 years of Keth history, a royal child's selection has never been wrong. Never. The children they choose always turn out to be worthy. Always. Teho stood up and walked to the wall. He pressed his hand against the cold surface. And if I refuse? Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then you insult the queen, the prince, and 10,000 years of sacred tradition. It would likely mean war. War. The word felt heavy in his mouth. The Keth take this very seriously. A royal selection is the most important event in their culture. Refusing it would be like, I don't know, like someone refusing to recognize a new human government, but worse. The door opened. High Advisor Mora entered, followed by General Tarek. Mora was thin for a Keth, with a dark green shell and quick, sharp movements. Tarek was massive, the largest Keth Teho had ever seen, with a shell the color of dried blood. Human, Mora said. Her voice was cold. Do you understand the situation you have created? I didn't create this situation, Teho said. The prince came to me. I didn't call him. The result is the same. Mora walked closer to him. A human cannot be a father guardian to a Keth royal. It has never happened. It goes against nature. Maybe nature is changing, Yuna said quietly. Mora turned to look at her. Do not speak of things you do not understand, human female. General Tarek stepped forward. The child must be tested. Perhaps he is defective. Perhaps his sensing ability is damaged. This would explain his mistake. He is not defective, said a new voice. Queen Vessa entered the room. Everyone, including Mora and Tarek, bowed their heads. The queen walked past them and stood before Tai-Ho. Up close, she was even more impressive. Her eyes held thousands of years of wisdom. My son is healthy and strong, the queen said. His ability is perfect. He looked at every being in that hall. He could have chosen any of my nobles, any of my generals, any of my advisors. He chose you. Why? Teho asked. Your Majesty, with respect, why would he choose me? Because he saw something in you. The queen studied Teho's face. I do not know what he saw. Only he knows. But I trust my son's instinct as I trust the sun to rise. Mora made a sound of frustration. Your Majesty, this is unprecedented. Our people will not accept a human as father guardian to the future king. Then our people will learn to accept it. The tradition says the child chooses. The tradition does not say the child must choose a Keth. The queen's voice grew harder. I will honor my son's choice. However, she turned back to Teho. You must prove yourself worthy. Even if I accept you, my people need to see that you deserve this honor. You will undergo the trials of the father. Teho felt his stomach tighten. Trials. 3 tests. Truth, courage, and sacrifice. Every father guardian must pass them. If you succeed, you will be accepted. If you fail, he will die, Tarek said. There was something in his voice that might have been satisfaction. The queen did not deny it. Many candidates have died in the trials. They are not easy, but a father guardian must be worthy of a royal child. There is no other way. Teho looked at Yuna. She was pale, her hands clasped tightly together. He looked at Mora and Tarek, who clearly hoped he would refuse. He looked at the queen, whose face showed nothing. Can I have time to decide? He asked. You may have until morning, the queen said. But know this, human. If you refuse, everything your people have worked for here will be lost. And my son, she paused. My son will believe he made a mistake. He will doubt himself. For a royal child, that doubt can be poison. She left the room. Mora and Tarek followed her. The door closed, and Tai-Ho was alone with Yuna again. You should refuse, Yuna said immediately. This is insane. You'll die in those trials. Maybe. Definitely. You're human. Those trials were made for Keth. Their bodies are stronger, their minds work differently. You have no chance. Tai-Ho walked to a small window in the corner of the room. Through it, he could see a courtyard where Keth nobles were walking and talking. Among them, he spotted a small figure, Prince Ren. The child was with his guards, but he was looking toward the building where Tai-Ho was being held. As Tai-Ho watched, the child pressed his face against the courtyard window, staring up at Tai-Ho's window. Those large eyes found him somehow, across all that distance. And in those eyes, Tai-Ho saw fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear that he had done something wrong. Fear that the person he had chosen would abandon him. Tai-Ho had felt that fear before. As a child, when his parents were too busy to notice him. As a young man, when friends left him behind. He knew what it felt like to reach out and be pushed away. He could not do that to this child. Human or Keth, a child was a child. And this child had chosen him. I'm going to do it, he said. Tai-Ho, I'm going to take the trials. He turned to face Yuna. If I refuse, we lose everything. The peace talks fail, maybe there's a war, and that child spends his whole life thinking he was wrong about me. I can't let that happen. Yuna stared at him. You could die. I could. He took a deep breath. But at least I'll die trying to do something good. The next morning, Tai-Ho stood before the queen and her court. The great hall was full again, every Keth noble and human diplomat watching. I accept the selection, Tai-Ho said, his voice clear and steady. I will take the trials of the father. A murmur went through the Keth crowd. Shock, disbelief, maybe a little respect. Prince Ren made a happy clicking sound and ran forward to grab Tai-Ho's hand. His small fingers wrapped around Tai-Ho's, holding tight. Queen Vesa nodded slowly. Then the trials will begin at dawn tomorrow. Prepare yourself, human. Your life depends on what comes next. Tai-Ho looked down at the child holding his hand. Ren looked up at him with complete trust. Whatever came next, Tai-Ho would not let him down. The night before the first trial, Tai-Ho could not sleep. He lay on his bed and stared at the ceiling, thinking about what waited for him at dawn. Kim Yuna had spent hours telling him everything she knew about the trials of the father. The information was not encouraging. The trials were ancient, created thousands of years ago to test the worthiness of those chosen by royal children. Many Keth had failed. Many had died. No human had ever attempted them. The first trial was called Truth. Yuna did not know exactly what it involved, only that it tested a person's ability to face themselves honestly. The Keth value truth above almost everything, she had explained. They believe that lies are poison. A father guardian must be completely honest, first with himself, then with the child he guides. Tai-Ho thought about this. Was he honest with himself? He had always tried to be, but there were things inside him that he did not like to look at. Failures, fears, regrets. Would he have to face all of them? Dawn came too quickly. A Keth guard came to his room and led him through the station to a part he had never seen before. They went deep into the structure, down long hallways with no windows. Finally, they reached a large door made of dark metal. Queen Vesa was waiting there with High Advisor Mora and General Tarek. Prince Ren was there too, standing close to his mother. When the child saw Tai-Ho, he clicked happily and waved. Tai-Ho waved back, trying to smile even though his stomach was tight with fear. Beyond this door is the Chamber of Mirrors, the Queen said. You will enter alone. You will face what the chamber shows you. If you pass, the door will open from the inside. If you fail... She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. How long do I have? Taeho asked. There is no time limit. Some candidates finish in minutes, some take hours, some never finish at all. Taeho nodded. He looked at Ren one more time, then turned to face the door. The guard touched a panel, and the door slid open with a low sound. Beyond it was darkness. Taeho walked inside. The door closed behind him, and for a moment he could see nothing. Then lights began to appear, slowly at first, then brighter. He was in a round room. Every surface, the walls, the ceiling, the floor, was made of mirrors. Hundreds of them, all reflecting his image back at him. But something was wrong with the reflections. They did not show him as he was now, standing in his diplomatic uniform. They showed other versions of him. Younger versions, older versions. Versions of himself he recognized from different parts of his life. And they were moving. The reflection directly in front of him stepped forward, and suddenly it was not a reflection anymore. It was a young man, maybe 22 years old. Taeho recognized himself at that age. This was him during his first mission as a diplomatic aide on a station called Haven Point. You remember me, the young Taeho said. His voice was full of anger. You remember what happened. Taeho did remember. Haven Point, a crisis situation, a colleague trapped in a damaged section of the station. Taeho had tried to save her, but he had not been fast enough. The section had lost air. She had died. You let her die, the young Taeho said. You were too slow, too weak, too scared. I tried to save her, Taeho said. Trying is not enough. You failed. She trusted you, and you failed her. The words hit Taeho hard because they were true. He had blamed himself for years after Haven Point. He had almost quit the diplomatic service. The guilt had never fully gone away. But then he understood. This was the trial. It was making him face his failures. It wanted him to break under the weight of his own guilt. Yes, he said, I failed. I was too slow and she died. The young Taeho looked surprised. You admit it? Of course I admit it. It's true. I made a mistake and someone died because of it. I've carried that with me every day since then. Taeho took a breath. But I didn't let it destroy me. I learned from it. I became better because of it. And I've spent my life trying to save others so her death wasn't meaningless. The young Taeho stared at him for a long moment. Then he stepped back into the mirror and disappeared. Another reflection came forward. This one was older, maybe in his mid-30s. Taeho recognized this version too. This was him after his relationship with Su-min had ended, the woman he thought he would marry, the future he thought he would have. She left you because you were not enough, this Taeho said. You worked too much. You cared too much about your job and not enough about her. You were selfish. I know, Taeho said. You know? Yes. I made mistakes in that relationship. I didn't give her the attention she deserved. I put my work first too many times. Taeho felt the old pain rising in his chest, but he did not push it away. I loved her, but I didn't show it well enough. That's my fault. I accept that. You ruined your chance at happiness. Maybe. Or maybe I learned what not to do next time. Maybe I'll be better for someone else because I understand now what I did wrong. The older Taeho watched him, then stepped back into the mirror. More reflections came. One after another, they showed him his worst moments. Times he had lied. Times he had been cruel. Times he had been a coward. Each one tried to make him deny the truth or collapse under shame. But Taeho faced each one honestly. Yes, he had done that. Yes, he had felt that. Yes, he had failed in that way. He did not make excuses. He did not try to defend himself. He simply told the truth about who he was and who he had been. It was painful. It was exhausting. But he kept going. Finally, only one reflection remained. It was him as he was now, but the face was twisted with doubt and fear. "You're not good enough for this," the reflection said. "You're just a human. You don't belong here. You're going to fail these trials, and then you're going to fail that child." Tae-ho looked at this last version of himself, his doubts, his deepest fears, the voice inside him that always said he was not enough. "Maybe you're right," he said. "Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I will fail. But I'm going to try anyway, because that child chose me. He looked at everyone and chose me, and I'd rather die trying to be worthy of that choice than live knowing I was too afraid to try." The reflection did not answer. It stared at him with those fearful eyes, and then slowly, it smiled. "Finally," it said, "someone who tells the truth." All the mirrors shattered at once. The sound was tremendous, like 1,000 windows breaking. But instead of falling to the floor, the pieces turned to light and floated upward, disappearing into the ceiling. The door opened. Tae-ho walked out into the hallway. He felt empty and exhausted, like he had run 1,000 kilometers. His legs were shaking. His eyes were wet with tears he had not realized he was crying. Queen Vesa looked at him with something that might have been surprise. High Advisor Mora's mouth was open. General Tarek was staring. "How long was I in there?" Tae-ho asked. His voice was rough. 12 minutes, the Queen said. "Most candidates take 3 hours at minimum." Before anyone could say anything else, Prince Ren broke away from his mother and ran to Tae-ho. The child grabbed his hand and clicked rapidly. The translator in Tae-ho's ear turned the clicks into words. "I knew you were true. I knew it." Tae-ho knelt down so he was at the child's level. He looked into those big, trusting eyes. "1 down," he said. 2 to go. General Tarek stepped forward. His expression was harder to read now. "The second trial is courage," he said. "It has killed more candidates than the first and third combined. Do not think you have won anything yet, human." Tae-ho stood up. He was tired, hurt, and scared, but he was also still alive. "When do we start?" he asked. Tarek's mandibles clicked once, a sound that Tae-ho's translator could not read. "Tomorrow. Rest while you can." Tae-ho looked down at Ren, who was still holding his hand. He would rest, and then he would face whatever came next. For the child who believed in him. The second trial took place in an arena. Tae-ho stood at one end of a large circular space with sand on the ground and high walls all around. Above the walls, hundreds of Keth sat in viewing seats. They had come to watch. Word had spread through the station about the human who passed the trial of truth in 12 minutes. Now everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Kim Yuna had explained the trial of courage to him the night before. "You have to fight," she had said, her voice worried. "A real fight against a Keth warrior. They're bigger than you, stronger than you, and they have natural armor. No human has ever won this trial." "Then how am I supposed to pass?" Tae-ho had asked. Yuna had shaken her head. "I don't know. Maybe courage isn't about winning. Maybe it's about something else." Now, standing in the arena, Tae-ho hoped she was right, because when he saw his opponent, his heart sank. General Tarek walked through the gate on the opposite side of the arena. He was huge, even bigger than Tae-ho remembered. His dark red shell seemed to absorb the light. His 4 arms were thick with muscle. He moved like a predator, slow and confident and deadly. "General Tarek has volunteered to be your opponent," Queen Vesa announced from her seat above the arena. "This is unusual. Normally, a regular warrior is selected, but the general wishes to test you himself." "I'm honored," Tae-ho said, though he did not feel honored. He felt like he was about to die. Tarek stopped in the center of the arena and looked at Tae-ho. "I do not think you belong here, human. Your species is weak, emotional, unreliable. I will prove that today. Tejo walked forward until he was standing a few meters from Tarek. The Keth general was almost twice his size. Up close, Tejo could see the scars on his shell from old battles. This was a warrior who had fought his whole life. The rules are simple, Queen Vessa said. The fight continues until one of you yields or cannot continue. This is not a fight to the death, but injuries are expected. Begin when ready. Tarek did not wait. He moved fast, faster than Tejo expected for something so big. One of his 4 arms swung in a wide arc, and Tejo barely ducked under it. He felt the wind as the arm passed over his head. Tejo rolled to the side and got back to his feet. Tarek was already turning, already coming at him again. Another swing. Tejo jumped back. A third swing caught him in the shoulder and sent him spinning to the ground. Pain exploded through his body. He could feel that his shoulder was not broken, but it was badly bruised. He got up slowly, his arm hanging at his side. The Keth in the audience clicked and made sounds that his translator read as interest. They were watching to see what he would do next. Tarek came at him again. Tejo tried to dodge, but he was too slow. A blow hit him in the chest and lifted him off his feet. He flew backward and landed hard on the sand. All the air left his lungs. He could not breathe. Get up, he told himself. Get up. He got up. Tarek was watching him. You are hurt. You cannot win. Yield now and save yourself more pain. No, Tejo said. He charged at Tarek. It was stupid. He knew it was stupid. But he had to try something. He threw a punch at the gap between 2 of Tarek's shell plates, a spot that might be soft. Tarek caught his fist in one hand and squeezed. Tejo felt his bones grinding together. He cried out in pain. Then Tarek threw him. Tejo hit the ground again and rolled. Sand got in his mouth and eyes. His hand felt like it was on fire. Get up! He got up. The audience was making more sounds now. Surprise. Confusion. Why was the human still standing? Tarek hit him again, and again. Each blow sent Tejo to the ground. His ribs were cracked now. Blood was running from a cut on his head. One of his eyes was swelling shut. But every time he fell, he got up. Tarek stood over him after knocking him down for the 10th time. Why do you keep rising? He demanded. You cannot hurt me. You cannot beat me. You are only making your death longer. Tejo spat blood onto the sand. His whole body was screaming in pain. Every part of him wanted to stay down, to yield, to make it stop. But then he thought about Ren. That small child had looked at him and seen something worth choosing. What would Ren think if Tejo gave up? What would the child learn from watching his chosen father-guardian quit when things got hard? Courage, Tejo said, his voice rough and broken, isn't about winning. He stood up. Tarek stared at him. Courage, Tejo continued, is about getting back up. It's about not quitting. It's about facing the thing that scares you and saying, I'm still here. He raised his fists. His hands were shaking. His legs were barely holding him, but he raised them anyway. So hit me again, he said. I'll get up again. And again. And again. You can break every bone in my body, but you can't make me quit. The only way this ends is if you kill me. Tarek did not move. He stood there, looking at Tejo with an expression the human could not read. Then, slowly, the general lowered his arms. Enough, he said. The audience went silent. Enough, Tarek repeated. The trial is complete. Tejo blinked through his swollen eye. What? Tarek walked toward him, but not to attack. He stopped right in front of Tejo and looked down at him with something new in his eyes. I have fought many warriors, Tarek said. Keth champions, soldiers from other species, beings who were faster than me, stronger than me, more skilled than me. But I have never fought anyone with more courage than you, human. He turned to face the queen. Courage is not about strength. It is not about skill. It is about the will to continue when all hope is lost. This human has that will. He has passed the trial of courage. The audience erupted in clicking and calls. Tae-ho could not tell if they were happy or angry. He did not care. His legs finally gave out, and he collapsed to his knees. Tarek caught him before he fell face first into the sand. The general held him up with surprising gentleness. "You surprised me, human," Tarek said quietly. "I did not think your kind had such strength of spirit." "We're full of surprises," Tae-ho managed to say. Medical staff rushed into the arena. They put Tae-ho on a stretcher and began treating his wounds. As they carried him out, he saw Ren watching from beside the queen. The child was clicking rapidly, happily, bouncing on his feet. He also saw Kim Yuna. She was crying. And he saw High Advisor Mora. She was not crying, but she was looking at him differently than before. The disgust was gone. In its place was something that might have been respect. They took him to a medical bay. Keth doctors worked on him for hours. They fixed his ribs, healed his hand, closed the cut on his head. When they were done, they told him he would need 2 days to recover before the final trial. That night, Queen Vesa came to see him. "General Tarek has never stopped a trial early," she said. "In 40 years of testing candidates, he has always fought until they yielded or could not stand. Today was the first time he stopped because he believed the candidate had proven themselves." Tae-ho lay on the medical bed, his body wrapped in bandages and healing patches. "What does that mean?" "It means you have earned his respect. And General Tarek's respect is not given easily." The queen moved closer. "The final trial is sacrifice. It is the hardest of the 3. It will test your willingness to give up everything for others." "I understand. I am not sure you do." The queen's voice was soft, almost worried. "No alien has ever reached the 3rd trial. You are the first in 10,000 years. I almost wish my son had chosen someone else." Tae-ho looked at her. "Do you?" The queen was silent for a moment. "No," she finally said. "No, I don't think I do. Rest now, human. You will need all your strength for what comes next." She left, and Tae-ho was alone. 2 down, he thought. 1 to go. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but he kept thinking about the queen's words. The hardest trial. Everything at stake. What would he have to sacrifice? He was afraid to find out. 2 days later, Tae-ho stood before the final trial. The room was different from the others. It was small and simple, with white walls and a single chair in the center. Wires and sensors hung from the ceiling. It looked like a medical room, but Tae-ho knew it was something else. This was where the trial of sacrifice would happen. "This trial takes place in your mind," Queen Vesa explained. She stood at the entrance with her advisors. Prince Ren was not allowed to watch this one. It was too personal, too dangerous. "We will put you into a simulation. It will feel completely real. You will not know it is not real while you are inside." "What happens in the simulation?" Tae-ho asked. "That depends on you. The trial creates a scenario based on what you care about most. It will force you to make a choice, an impossible choice." High Advisor Mora stepped forward. "Most candidates must choose between 2 things they love, their home or their honor, their family or their people. The trial reveals what a person values above all else. And how do I pass?" "That is not for us to say," the queen answered. "Every trial is different. Every choice is different. You will know if you have passed when it is over." Tae-ho looked at the chair. His body was healed from the fight with Tarek, but his mind was tired. 3 days of stress and fear had worn him down, and now he had to face the hardest test of all. He sat down. The Keth doctors attached the sensors to his head. They told him to close his eyes. He heard them press buttons on their machines. He felt a cold sensation spreading through his skull, and then he was somewhere else. He was standing on a street, not a station corridor, but a real street with buildings on both sides and a sky above. He recognized it. This was the human colony of New Busan, where he had visited once years ago. The buildings were damaged. Smoke was rising in the distance. He could hear screaming. An attack. The colony was under attack. Tae-ho started running. He did not know where he was going, but he had to help. He turned a corner and saw a group of children huddled in a doorway. Human children, maybe 10 of them, all crying and scared. Behind them, a building was burning. "Are you okay?" Tae-ho asked them. "Where are your parents?" "Gone," one of the children said. A girl, maybe 8 years old. "They told us to hide. They went to find help." The ground shook. An explosion somewhere close. Tae-ho looked up and saw ships in the sky, Keth warships. They were bombing the colony. This was the scenario. He had to save these children from a Keth attack. "Come with me," he said. "I'll get you somewhere safe." He led the children through the streets, avoiding the burning buildings and falling debris. He did not know where to go. The whole colony seemed to be on fire, but he kept moving, kept searching for a shelter or a ship or anything that could help. Then he heard another sound, a different kind of crying, a clicking sound. He stopped. That sound, he knew it. "Wait here," he told the children. He ran toward the sound. It was coming from a collapsed building. He climbed over the broken walls and found a small space underneath the rubble. Inside was Prince Ren. The child was trapped. A heavy beam had fallen across his legs. He was clicking in pain and fear, his big eyes wet with tears. "Ren," Tae-ho said. "I'm here. I'll get you out." He grabbed the beam and tried to lift it. It was too heavy. He tried again, putting all his strength into it. The beam moved a little, but not enough. The ground shook again. Another explosion, closer this time. Tae-ho looked up and saw that another building nearby was falling. In a few seconds, more debris would crash down on this spot. On Ren. He could not lift the beam alone. He needed help. But there was no one else here, except the children. Tae-ho climbed out of the rubble and ran back to where the human children were waiting. "I need your help," he said. "There's someone trapped. We have to lift something heavy." "But the bombs," the girl said. "We have to hide." "There's no time. Please, I need you." He brought them to the collapsed building. Together, all of them grabbed the beam. Tae-ho counted to 3, and they lifted. It was enough. The beam rose, and Tae-ho pulled Ren out from underneath it just as the nearby building fell. The noise was deafening. Dust and debris flew everywhere. When it cleared, Tae-ho was holding Ren. The child was alive. The human children were alive too, coughing but unhurt, but they were trapped now. The new debris had blocked the way they came in. They were in a small pocket of space surrounded by ruins. And Tae-ho could hear the bombs getting closer. He looked around. There was only one way out. A narrow gap in the rubble that led to a clear street. But it was too small for all of them to go through at once. They would have to go one at a time. And there was not enough time for everyone. Tae-ho did the calculation in his head. He could save all the human children if they went now, or he could save Ren first, but then the debris would fully collapse before the last children got out. Or he could hold the unstable rubble in place while everyone else escaped. But if he did that, he would not get out. He would die. Human children or Keth Prince, his species or his duty, his life or theirs. This was the choice. This was the trial of sacrifice. The bombs were so close now. He had maybe 30 seconds. The human children were crying. Ren was clicking in fear. Everyone was looking at him, waiting for him to decide. Human children. Keth Prince, his own life. Tae-ho refused. "Everyone go," he said. "Now, through the gap. I'll hold the rubble." "But you'll die," the girl said. "I know. Go." He pushed them toward the gap. The children started crawling through one at a time. Human children first, then Ren. Taeho held the broken wall above them, feeling the weight pressing down on his arms, his back, his whole body. 6 children through, 7, 8. His arms were shaking, the rubble was slipping. 9, 10. Ren was the last one. "Go," Taeho said to him. "Now!" Ren looked at him with those big eyes. "Father," the translator said, "come with me." "I can't. Go." The child crawled through the gap. Taeho watched him disappear to safety. Then the rubble fell. Taeho closed his eyes. He opened them in the white room. He was sitting in the chair. The sensors were still on his head. His body was shaking. His face was wet with tears he did not remember crying. Queen Vesa was standing in front of him. Her expression was unreadable. "Most candidates choose one group over the other," she said. "They save their own species, or they save the one they are sworn to protect. Either choice is acceptable. The trial only requires a choice." Taeho took a shaky breath. "I couldn't choose. I couldn't let any of them die." "So you sacrificed yourself for all of them." The queen nodded slowly. "Human children and Keth Prince both. You gave your life so everyone else could live." Taeho did not know what to say. He had acted on instinct. It had not felt like a decision. It had just felt like the only thing he could do. "You have passed the trial of sacrifice," Queen Vesa said. Mora stepped forward. "Your Majesty, he did not make a choice. The rules require a candidate to show willingness to sacrifice," the Queen interrupted. "He showed the ultimate sacrifice. He chose to give up everything, not for one group or another, but for everyone." She looked at Taeho with something new in her eyes. "That is not a weakness. That is strength." Taeho stood up. His legs were unsteady. "So it's over? The trials are done?" "Yes." The Queen placed one of her hands on his shoulder. "You are now officially worthy to be the father guardian of Prince Ren, the first human in Keth history to hold this honor." The door opened, and Ren came running in. He had been waiting outside. He ran straight to Taeho and grabbed him, clicking rapidly. Taeho knelt down and held the child. He was shaking. They were both shaking. "I did it," he whispered. "I did it for you." The child clicked once. The translator said, "I knew you would." Taeho laughed. It came out like a sob. He had passed the trials. He had survived. Now he had to become what he had promised to be, a father. The day after the trials, Taeho began preparing for the bonding ceremony. This was the ritual that would officially make him Ren's father guardian. Once it was complete, his connection to the prince would be recognized by all Keth law. But not everyone was happy about this. High Advisor Mora came to his room the night before the ceremony. She entered without asking permission and stood just inside the door, her green shell almost black in the dim light. "I must speak with you," she said. Taeho stood up from his chair. "Advisor Mora, what can I do for you?" "You can listen." She stepped closer. Her voice was low, meant only for him. "There is a plot against you, a group within our military. They call themselves the True Shell. They believe Keth blood must be kept pure. They cannot accept a human as father guardian to the future king." Taeho felt his body go cold. "What kind of plot?" "Assassination. They plan to kill you before the ceremony is complete. Without the bonding, your status will not be official. Ren will have to choose again." "How do you know this?" Mora hesitated. "I was approached to join them. I refused." Taeho studied her face. "You didn't like me at first. You didn't think I belonged here." "I still have doubts," she admitted. "But I watched you complete the trials. I saw your courage and your sacrifice. The True Shell wants to kill you because they are afraid. They are afraid that you will prove them wrong, that humans can be worthy." She made a clicking sound that the translator read as frustration. "I do not know if you are worthy, but you deserve the chance to prove it. Thank you for telling me." Thank me by surviving. She left, and Tae-ho was alone with this new fear. He went to Kim Yuna. She was staying in the human quarters of the station, working on the diplomatic documents that would follow the bonding ceremony. When he told her about the plot, her face went pale. "You have to leave," she said. "Get back to human space. We can protect you there. If I run, I prove them right. I prove that humans are cowards who abandon their duties when things get dangerous. You'll be dead. Maybe. But Ren will know I didn't abandon him." Tae-ho sat down heavily. "And if there's even a small chance I can stop these people and complete the ceremony, I have to try." He went to General Tarek next. The general listened to the information without expression. When Tae-ho finished, Tarek was silent for a long moment. "The true shell," he finally said. "I know of them. They are small but dangerous. Fanatics. They have tried before to prevent alien influence in our culture. Can you stop them? If I knew who they were, yes. But they hide among our soldiers and nobles. Finding them is difficult." "Then we use the ceremony," Tae-ho said. "We let them attack. When they reveal themselves, your forces can capture them." Tarek looked at him with new respect. "That is a dangerous plan. You would be the bait." "I've been bait before, in the trials in the arena. At least this time I'll know it's coming." Tarek made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You continue to surprise me, human. Very well. I will position my most trusted soldiers around the ceremony hall. When the true shell attacks, we will be ready." The next day, the ceremony began. The great hall was decorated with Keth symbols and lights. Hundreds of beings filled the space, Keth nobles and human diplomats, all watching as Tae-ho walked down the center aisle toward the raised platform where Queen Vesa and Prince Ren waited. Tae-ho's heart was beating hard. Every face in the crowd could be an assassin. Every shadow could hide a weapon. But he kept walking, his face calm, his steps steady. He reached the platform and knelt before the queen. Ren stood beside her, clicking with excitement. The child did not know about the danger. Tae-ho wanted to keep it that way. "We are gathered to witness a sacred bond," Queen Vesa announced. "Park Tae-ho of the Human Coalition has completed the trials of the father. He has proven himself worthy to serve as father guardian to Prince Ren." She began speaking the ancient words of the bonding ritual. Tae-ho listened, but his eyes were moving across the crowd. Where were they? When would they strike? The queen placed one hand on Tae-ho's head and one on Ren's. "In the eyes of our ancestors, in the eyes of law, in the eyes of all who witness, I declare—" A shout from the crowd. Movement at the back of the hall. Keth soldiers pushing through the nobles, weapons raised, charging toward the platform. "For the true shell!" one of them screamed. Tae-ho moved without thinking. He grabbed Ren and threw himself over the child, covering him with his own body. He felt something hit his back, a blade or a projectile. Pain exploded through him. He heard shouting, fighting, the clash of metal. Then it was over. General Tarek's soldiers had stopped the assassins. 5 of them, all in restraints, being dragged out of the hall. Tae-ho lay on the platform, his arms still wrapped around Ren. The child was clicking rapidly, scared and confused but not hurt. Tae-ho had protected him. "Human," someone said above him. Tarek's voice. "Human, can you hear me?" Tae-ho tried to answer, but could not. The pain in his back was too great. He felt hands lifting him, carrying him. He saw lights above, the ceiling of the hall moving past. Then darkness. He woke in the medical bay again. Kim Yuna was sitting beside him, her eyes red from crying. When she saw him open his eyes, she grabbed his hand. "You stupid, brave, impossible man," she said. "You almost died." "But I didn't," Tae-ho said. His voice was weak. "You took a blade to the spine. Another centimeter and you'd be paralyzed, or dead. Ren, He's fine, not a scratch on him, because you protected him. Taeho closed his eyes. Relief washed through him. The child was safe. The door opened and Queen Vesa entered. She walked to his bedside and looked down at him. You saved my son's life, she said. That's what a father guardian does. The ceremony was not completed. The bond is not official. Taeho tried to sit up, but pain stopped him. Then we have to do it again. We will, when you are healed. The queen's voice softened. The assassins have been captured. They were a small group, rejected by most of our people. Their actions will not be supported. In fact, what happened has strengthened the bond between our species. How? Because you were willing to die for a Keth child. You shielded him with your body without hesitation. My people saw that. They will not forget it. Taeho lay back. He had not thought about politics when he threw himself over Ren. He had only thought about keeping the child safe. The true shell believed humans were weak and untrustworthy, Vesa continued. You proved them wrong in front of hundreds of witnesses. You showed that humans are willing to sacrifice themselves for those they protect. This is something my people understand. This is something they respect. General Tarek entered the room next. He stood beside the queen and looked at Taeho. You fought well, Tarek said. No weapons, no armor, but you moved faster than any of my soldiers. You protected the prince before anyone else could react. Human instinct, Taeho said. More than instinct. Tarek placed his fist over his chest in what Taeho recognized as a Keth salute. You have warrior spirit, human. I am honored to have tested you in the arena. From the doorway came a small clicking sound. Taeho looked over and saw Ren standing there, held back by a guard. Let him in, Taeho said. The guard looked at the queen. She nodded. Ren ran to the bed and climbed up beside Taeho. The child was careful not to touch his injuries. He curled up next to Taeho and clicked softly. Are you going to be okay? The translator said. Taeho put his arm around the child. Yes, I'm going to be okay. And when I'm healed, we'll finish the ceremony. I'll officially be your father guardian. Ren clicked again. You already are. Taeho smiled. The child was right. The ceremony was just words and rituals. The bond between them was already real. He held Ren close and let himself rest. The hardest part was over. Now came the life he had promised to live. 2 weeks after the attack, Taeho stood in the Great Hall once again. His back was healed. The Keth doctors had done excellent work, using technology far more advanced than human medicine. There would be a scar, but there would be no lasting damage. He would carry the mark of his sacrifice for the rest of his life. The hall was even more crowded than before. Word of the assassination attempt had spread across the station and beyond. Beings from dozens of species had come to witness the bonding ceremony. This was history. Everyone wanted to see it. Taeho walked down the aisle toward the platform. This time, he did not look for assassins. General Tarek's soldiers surrounded the hall, and the True Shell members were in prison. There would be no more attacks. He climbed the steps and knelt before Queen Vesa. Prince Ren stood beside her, his small body almost vibrating with excitement. The child had been waiting for this moment. We are gathered to witness a sacred bond, the queen said, her voice carrying across the silent hall. Park Taeho of the Human Coalition has completed the trials of the Father. He has proven himself worthy through truth, courage, and sacrifice. He has defended the life of Prince Ren against those who would harm him. She paused and looked at Taeho with something warm in her ancient eyes. In 10,000 years, no alien has stood where you stand now. You are the first to earn this honor. May you be the first of many. She placed one hand on Taeho's head and one on Ren's. In the eyes of our ancestors, in the eyes of law, in the eyes of all who witness, I declare Park Taeho to be the father guardian of Prince Ren. Their bond is sacred and eternal. What they build together will shape the future. She stepped back. The ceremony was complete. The hall erupted in sound, clicking and clapping and cheering from hundreds of beings. Keth nobles struck their fists against their chests in salute. Human diplomats applauded. The noise was overwhelming. But Teho only heard the small clicking sound beside him. Ren threw his arms around Teho and held tight. "Father," the translator said. "My father." Teho hugged the child back. His eyes were wet, but he did not care who saw. "I'm here," he said. "I'll always be here." The celebration lasted for hours. Food and drink from both human and Keth cultures, music and speeches and more salutes. Teho moved through it all in a kind of happy daze. Kim Yuna found him during a quiet moment. "So," she said, "how does it feel to be a father?" "Strange," Teho admitted. "Good, but strange. I never expected this, any of it. You know what this means for us? For humans?" He nodded. The bonding ceremony was more than personal. It was political. A human was now father guardian to the future king of the Keth Empire. That connection would change everything. Over the next few days, the changes began. The diplomatic talks that had been stuck for 3 months suddenly moved forward. The Keth agreed to trade rights in their space. Humans agreed to limit expansion near Keth borders. A new treaty was written, fair to both sides. "They trust us now," Yuna explained. "Or at least they're willing to give us a chance. Because of what you did." Teho watched Ren playing with a human puzzle toy that Yuna had given him. The child was fascinated by it, clicking happily as he figured out how the pieces fit together. "I didn't do it for politics," Teho said. "I know. That's why it worked." General Tarek came to see him on the day before Teho was scheduled to leave for Keth space. He would live there part-time now, fulfilling his duties to Ren. His life would never be the same. "I want you to understand something," Tarek said. "When you first came here, I thought you were weak. I thought humans were all weak, too emotional, too soft. I believed you would fail the trials and prove what I already knew." Teho waited. "I was wrong." Tarek's voice was heavy with meaning. "You feel more deeply than we do. You love more fiercely. You fight harder for those you protect. I thought these things were weaknesses. Now I see they are strengths, strengths we Keth have forgotten." "Maybe we can learn from each other," Teho said. "Maybe we can." Tarek struck his fist against his chest. "I will watch your progress with great interest, Father Guardian." The next morning, Queen Vessa summoned Teho to her private chamber. It was a beautiful room with windows showing a holographic view of the Keth homeworld, a planet of purple forests and silver seas. "I have a gift for you," the Queen said, "an honor rarely given to outsiders." "Your Majesty, you've already given me more than I could have imagined. This is different." She gestured, and a servant brought forward a small box. Inside was a medallion on a chain. The medallion showed 2 figures, one human and one Keth, standing together. "You will be allowed to teach Ren about humanity," the Queen explained. "Our history, our culture, our values. He will learn to understand humans as no Keth ruler ever has." Teho held the medallion carefully. That's an incredible responsibility." "Yes, and I believe you will honor it." The Queen moved closer to him. "My son will one day rule 1,000 worlds. The decisions he makes will affect billions of lives. If he understands humans, if he sees them as allies and friends rather than strangers, the future will be better for everyone." Teho put the chain around his neck. The medallion rested against his chest, cool and solid. "I'll teach him well," he promised. "I'll show him the best of what humans can be." "I know you will. That is why I allowed my son's choice to stand." That afternoon, Teho walked through a garden on the station. It was designed to look like the Keth homeworld, with purple trees and silver flowers. Ren ran ahead of him, chasing small flying creatures that hummed through the air. "Father!" the child called out. "Come see! They glow when you touch them." Tae-ho smiled and walked toward him. Father. He was still getting used to that word. But every time Ren said it, his heart felt a little fuller. He knelt beside the child and watched the glowing creatures dance around them. Ren clicked happily, his eyes full of wonder. This was his life now, teaching this child, protecting him, helping him grow into the leader he would one day become. It was not the life Tae-ho had planned, but it was the life he had been chosen for. Years later, when historians wrote about this time, they called it the beginning of the Great Alliance. They wrote about how a human diplomat was chosen by a Keth prince and how that choice changed the relationship between two species forever. They wrote about King Ren, who ruled with wisdom and compassion, who treated humans as equal partners rather than outsiders. They wrote about the Keth-Human Alliance, which became the strongest partnership in the galaxy, bringing peace and prosperity to hundreds of worlds. And they wrote about Park Tae-ho, the Father Guardian, who taught the king to see the best in all beings, no matter their species. But Tae-ho did not think about history or politics or alliances. He thought about a child who had run to him across a crowded hall, a child who had looked at him with complete trust, a child who had seen something in him that he had not seen in himself. And he thought about the moment when he decided not to walk away. That was the moment that changed everything. Not the trials, not the ceremony, not the politics. Just a man deciding to be there for a child who needed him. That was where it all began. And that, Tae-ho knew, was worth everything.